Alright, fools. I'm not entirely sure I feel like doing it, but I'm going to try anyways. Making this week's episode. It's been, and will continue to be, a sort of a busy weekend, so fitting all this in is going to be tricksy. But we are going to try. Now, I have, let me see, I have put in the leg on the other side successfully. Off camera, naturally. Sorry. Let's see. Come on. So far away. There it is. See? The leg. Very good, right? I also started on the one in the front. However, it's perched right at the edge of the water. Right? You can see right there. It's actually it's rather steep decline right here. So the back prong is going to have to be pointed downward, which means I'm going to actually have to remind myself what the heck it's shaped like and try to imitate that shape while downward. However, that's, I suppose, good insofar as that's what it's supposed to be able to do. And I guess I should at least have some creativity going here. Now, it did take up an unexpected amount of room up here in the front. I mean, that's not a small space for, let's say, a bridge. And there are other things that have to happen, so I think there's probably enough room for things, but I don't know. I was still surprised when it took up that much room. Alright. Let me get my act together here. I'm thinking if it's going to go straight down, then I need two of these. And what I'm not as sure about is what happens in between. But let's just, for now, put these. Because I don't think you can normally see this, and putting it here wouldn't really hurt anything. Which means we should... Ooh, what happened? No, seriously, what just happened? Okay, I'll turn around. It's one forward, so like that, and then 1, 2. Oh, it's gonna take forever. Never mind. Let's not do that. I'm trying to see this in my head. That would, let's say, it come up right against here normally, which means here and here. Come on. Oh, crap. Here and there, it would be one thing, but then here... Okay, so now we can see that it's digging down in, but we also have here and here, I think... No, it's not there. That can't be it. It's hardly visible at all. I think it's because it's mostly buried. I'm not sure now if I like that or not. But be that as may, we should probably put the pieces in place that we need. And keep... is that right? I think that's right. Oh, passed it. Alright, so then... No, that's too far back. That's what that is. Because it needs to be up here. Like so. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Let's see. There we go. Take that back out. Do it. Ooh. Correctly. And then up, and we just keep going. Actually, we don't just keep going. There's one of these where it's a square instead of a stair. Which actually sounds like some sort of stupid song lyrics. But it doesn't actually interrupt the process, so we can take this part all the way up pretty easily. Well, that's great. My whole last clip ended up being like 48 pixels by 48 pixels, which completely kind of defeated... And of that, it was just white. So it was the best clip ever. A good 3 minutes of stuff that won't do me the slightest bit of good now. Okay, I have to do this from the other side, apparently. I did bring all those up. That's what I had been recording ineffectually right here, this stuff. But, you know, you've seen it before, so it's not the end of the world. And I have more time for other things. And was that not just a bottom piece right there? No. That's a whole other... That's a whole other stair bit. And it faces, again, back this way. Doesn't it? Yeah, I'm looking at it from the back. Oh, come on. There. God. Okay. Oh, but I needed this one from the front. I need this. I'm going hungry. I know. So, get rid of this. I was going to say something. It was going to be terribly important. Obviously. Oh, no, I needed that. Crap. I'm doing a great job. Let's go around the front, because I have to. We can go over a couple things, I guess. Hello. There you go. Goodbye, both of you. Was that both of them? What's this over here? Oh, punk. I'm really flubbing this up. That's because I'm trying to think of what I should be talking about instead of doing stuff. So that's complete-ish. I mean, the housing and stuff on all three is yet to be even thought about, much less done. But there you go. I do like the way you can see it sort of bites into the landscape. You can tell there is definitely some weight this thing is holding. It's sufficient enough to deform the landscape. Alright, so the question now is, what the heck am I going to do next? This... Hello, new moon. Hello, setting sun. This ship has quite a few needs. I made a bit of a list, not a chart. I was going to say chart, but it wasn't a chart, of things that should be in it. Why am I walking so slow? I guess I could just read it off to you. I mean, it's not like you don't already know what it is, or it's not like you do. Now, this is something. The back is wrong. These guys erupt later than the one over there, so I think maybe it's slightly too long here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I did it by 6. Okay. Don't know why. So, let's see. I think we'll probably start by making actual rooms, you know, three-dimensional constructs out of some of the things starting out from the back ramps here. And by the way, this is by no means the final design. It is a design. But as things progress, I may have better ideas. I mean, I had an idea not 5 minutes ago of something a little bit more organic, not like a living thing, but like smooth edges and more like resting on a pad or almost like a talon that bent upwards, and it could rest on just about anything. But I don't know exactly where to take that idea, and I'm not going to do it now. Maybe later when we start to revisit things. But I suppose before, I mean, could we build the engines first? I mean, this whole area here is engine material. The stuff on the sides I'm not as sure about. This here, this is for people, and it would pass either under or over part of the engine part, and you could come over to this far side over here where I think this might be storage for something. Now there's out here there would be a prong or a connector for missile launchers. So it could be that the ammunition is stored in this back bay, where if it were hit, the ship itself wouldn't, or the crew wouldn't necessarily be injured. Let's see, but we got to start somewhere, and first off, I guess, is the list. So I don't know. I hesitate to try to walk because it's going to take forever. Let's fly. Let's fly. Mount ship. Up we go. Hello. Up. Thank you. So, first off, we need room for the crew. So let's review.
Hello, front of ship. Please load, please.
This ship isn't actually meant to have an enormous crew, and as you can see, there's not actually that much space in the grand scheme of things. It's just remarkable, really, that what you do need takes up as much room as it does for so little. But the crew typically consists of, you got a captain, navigation, engineering, doctor, communications, and science officers. So that's really a relatively small crew, and we don't necessarily have to be limited to just that. However, what I have here is we need quarters for ops, which I'm thinking is navigation. Or I have navigation as number 2, so ops might be guys who deal with tactical stuff like weaponry and things like that, because that is not as... No, I have that separate too. What the hell do I mean by ops? Is that the captain? Oh, okay, ops is captain. Sorry, this list is kind of old. I've had this project on the books for a long time. So, anyways, we need quarters for ops, navigation, science, engineering, comms, tactical and security people, and guests potentially. And that are these sort of beige areas. That's a quarters. That's a quarters. Quarters. So we can have up to 17 individual quarters active on a ship. 17. What am I talking about? 14. Math. Quarters. So, you know, I guess the guests would be more towards the back and or maybe the engineers and stuff who are wherever. It doesn't matter. I'm worrying way too much. We also need cafeteria space for them all. Do I have such a thing? Cafeteria space. Cafeteria space. That's probably going to have to be up front. It doesn't need to be big, you know, a couple of tables and chairs, because they're not, you know, somebody's going to have to always be on duty, which means they're not going to overlap all the time. But that's a crew-related concern, cafeteria space. Maybe a cafeteria/gym space, so they have a little bit of exercise. Then again, these ships go to planets, so they probably get exercise out of doors too. Let's see. So then we have to consider ops, and ops is pretty much the front here. So we're going to say this area here is ops, and we have consoles and stuff, quick consoles for dealing with navigation concerns, scientific concerns, communications, defense, engineering, and we'll have an observation deck, which might actually be above or below or both. Probably not below. You'd think they'd be interested in it. Then, crap, we have to go back here. We have health concerns. So, hello, what's going on? Thank you. One of our mods takes a second to call out to our web server, and that is a slow process. So, in terms of health concerns, we need an infirmary, maybe 2 infirmaries. That seems like a lot for such a small crew. Infirmary and quarantine area. Now, I was pretty sure the quarantine area were these right here. These are the quarantines. So I guess what that means is because the quarantines are attached, these are the medical. So one's like an infirmary and one's maybe like an operating room or something. So that way, is that right? Yeah, that must be quarantine here and here. That is quarantine prison on either side. So it's sort of many quarantines. Quarantine prison, quarantine medical, actual medical bays. I almost wanted to say these were supposed to be the medical bays, but if that's the case, I forget what these are. Perhaps, yes. Maybe, you know, you also need medical supplies, but the supplies wouldn't be there. Bear with me, folks. Anyway, back here, this is medical stuff. We can debate this more in the future. We also have navigation concerns. There's going to have to be an astrogation array and an accelerometer. We'll put them in. They probably won't be obvious what they are, except for having watched the video. But they will probably actually, the actual devices will probably be up top of the, you know, sort of attached to the outside of the vehicle. So somewhere close to the center. But actual navigation metrics and ops would be, again, up front. Let's see. Scanners, probably multiple scanners. We'll just do things all around the edges, up and down, and they'll be scanners. But maybe there'll be one bigger one that's a little bit more obvious as to that it's a massive array of something or other. We need a science area. So actually, you know what? Science area... I mean, granted, there are science ops up front, but actual science labs. And those would be, I think, back here with medical. So you have medical, science, perhaps. And let's see, we need a communications array. Again, the array might be back here or up there, but the ops would be up there. But there should be a small room or obvious computer bank that deals with keeping logs, record keeping for communications and science and stuff. So that actually might be a shared thing. We'll have basically just a computer room, so I should write that down before I forget. Defense, I think we sort of covered that already. They're typically in this particular ship, up top here of this area, there is, and pointing forward, is a laser turret, and that thing's very fast and very accurate. And then to the sides are a pair of missile turret launchers, and they are much more powerful, and they can miss targets. So that's the problem. Lasers cannot miss, but they're not as powerful. Missiles do more damage, but they can miss. And let's see. But again, ops back towards the front. Then we need storage for the missiles and such. Probably, like I was saying back there, so there might be a tube that comes along where the missiles get shunted towards their missile racks. Security, quarantine, small arms room somewhere, panic room. I'm not sure where the panic room should be. It shouldn't be too far away from ops, though. In case somebody gets into the ship, panic room might need to be a security zone up front. We have also the need for escape pods, so those will probably be to either side of the front. Maybe there'll be one towards the top of the back of the front, and maybe one towards maybe the bottom, just underneath the back here, so people from either end can get away, because their duties do keep them rather separate. Having to run all that way, come on. Let's see, escape pods. We need engineering. Engineering is largely back here, except for an ops station up front. It's mostly back here, and it's mostly going to be in these two side rooms, so that's going to be complicated, especially since I have a lot of entries. For this, we need energy ducts. We need a warp array, which I think will be this right here. Probably with these two things to either side will probably be needed for like superconducting, like magnetic field generation kind of stuff. Propulsion ducts, engines, ship diagnostics. I'm not sure what that would look like. Repairs, so we'll need probably on the sides here, storage area for repairs and goods, stuff that can be used on the ship. Spare parts, again, same thing. And then operations. We need a meeting room, so it's probably also the cafeteria, and that would be up front. An ATV bay, which is essentially this right here. But as you can see, it's a bit overly large for our needs. And cargo transit, which is probably this tunnel, because all these guys right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, those are cargo pods. Those are for storage. The ship has a certain amount of storage by default, and that's probably in this bay. And that seems like a lot right now. And I think that's one of the flaws with this design, is the ship in the game only has a certain amount of space, and then if you add all these, it adds a significantly more space, but these are actually significantly smaller than the space back here. So I think in the end that didn't really work out mathematically. But we'll live with it anyways, because in the end this is our ship now. Yep. I think so those are what we need. If you guys can think of anything I'm leaving out that wouldn't hurt my feelings, it might be hard to find a space for it, but you know, it was a long time since I had thought about this, so I'm almost certainly forgetting something. So this will be a very strange recording day, since I seem to be going back and forth between games of this and Dwarf Fortress, forced on me in no small part because the server seemed to have gone down right in the middle of my recording, so that didn't help. Now, We've got to make some kind of progress. I can't just talk the whole episode. We should probably... Gosh. I feel like maybe engines are important. But I don't know if that's where I want to start. I feel like I should start with these small cluttered engine rooms. Not engine rooms, but engineering rooms here to either side. I think it might be okay if they also intrude somewhat into this bay. And I'm also thinking this bay, right, this part here where the craft goes, should be sunk in a little bit. I was also thinking this craft is very likely going to be a 2-floor or 2-story. Granted, each story is rather not very tall, but it might be a 2-story vehicle. We'll see, certainly. It's largely flat, though, so maybe it's only a 1-story ship. I mean, it's a crew of 7 with guests, so I don't know. Gosh, indecision. I dislike it. Okay, so we don't need this right now. We could use this. I'm curious to see how this is going to look with intermittent texturization. So let's do this briefly. Right? Now, one is definitely going to need access to this area for repairs and stuff, but do they get access from outside or from... I almost think like they should have access only from the outside to protect the inside from contamination from things, you know? Let's see. So intermittent textures. We also, do we know that we're going to want so much white? That's also a question. I don't know. I would actually prefer in a scenario like this where it was colored, not colored, but that there was like straight lines on the top and bottom and not a brick texture. You know what I don't have and I have not had for ages? Do I have some here? No. Ooh, that worked out pretty well. I feel like I might. Looks like no. And unfortunately, I don't think I can do this. No. I'll take some of that with me anyways. Let me put some of this aside for the moment. Dacite bricks. I'm probably not using dacite for this particular part of the thing. Get rid of the brick. Dacite brick. Brick. Dacite. Oh, I wasn't using my space very efficiently, was I? Alright, that opens up a little bit. So, the idea is soapstone, chalk, and I want to sacrifice something. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Hey, come back here. Boop, right? Oh, no! Well, that's not what I wanted to do either. Shoot! So what? Do I need... This may only work with cobble, which means I have to get my other thing out here. I suppose if I was going to use any stone for this, I would use this relatively useless black stone. Which is unfortunate. I usually like black, but the inverted... creases, seams in the rock when you make brick out of it, I don't like so much. Granted, I don't know what the alternative is, but... Tip. Oh, I could mention my next little political talking point for the one person who was interested in my political viewpoints. The last time I had mentioned the biggest pet peeve or thing about politics in general is just that most people choose to remain uninvolved, and that makes the problem much worse than it would otherwise be. And also much hairier for those who do get involved. And that's a thing, but I'm also concerned about definitions, and I've lost access. People define themselves according to tribes, and this is a problem. I'm not sure if it's a problem, actually. What I'm thinking is, how tall does this actually want to be? What I'm thinking is, a tribe is like the Democratic Party. A tribe is like the Republican Party or the Tea Party, Green Party. These are okay. If it's a self-described, this is a tribe. They have they don't have a completely unique perspective, but they have a place from which they come, and they have a means by which they think they can deal with things. And that's okay. But when people start talking about liberal versus conservative, that is a much different thing, and people think they are tribes and they are not, and that's a big political problem. I'm not sure if I dislike this as much as I thought I did. Maybe different textures would be more useful, or maybe bringing in some stairs to make like some of these edges different. There's the thing. I want people to use simplistic definitions. So liberal only means permissive. That's it. It's the only thing it means. You let others do what they want to do. And the opposite of that is not conservative, though sometimes the way you word it could make it sound that way. The opposite is restrictive. In other words, you are more involved in telling people what they cannot do. And neither of these things are necessarily a bad thing. They could both be bad. They could both be good. It depends on what's happening at the time. And sometimes you have to be one to preserve the other. For example, if let's say some new guy comes along and is telling everybody, in current context, you're telling people who you can and cannot marry, okay? That's restrictive. That's the opposite of liberal, okay? And so far in keeping with quote-unquote, air quotes, conservative perspective in the United States right now. But in order to protect the liberties of those who want to get married, you have to restrict the people who want to restrict them. So you have to be able to tell someone, no, actually you can't tell that other person what they can or can't do. So, if everybody was freedom respecting, then it would be a non-issue. But because some are not, you have to actually come down on them to prevent them from coming down on someone else. So in order to protect a liberty, you have to be restrictive. There are lots and lots of cases. You can get into environmentalism, economy, all that stuff. In order to protect individuals from being cheated by the big banks like they were just prior to the 2008 collapse, you have to restrict banks. So that's the way it goes. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, we restricted the rich extremely. We didn't get rid of them, but we just limited their ability to damage the rest of the nation, and the rest of the nation prospered the most it has ever in its entire history prospered. We reversed that trend at around Reagan's time, and things have been going downhill for everybody except the rich since. So again, you restrict one group to protect another. This is a whole different... And meanwhile, I'm not accomplishing anything. Oh! I'm so distracted. Okay, I needed this. I haven't seen real stone or raw stone in such a long time. So what I need is blah, like so. And let's test that out and see what happens. 3 whole blocks worth. That... I'm okay with that. That's going to give me a lot of experience cooking stone, but I'm okay with that. So let's do a little bit of mining, because that's a little bit easier to do and talk at the same time. And then I'll just show you the results afterwards. If that's the x-axis, if going left to right is permissive versus restrictive, conservative versus progressive is the y-axis, up and down. They're not mutually exclusive with progressivism and restrictivism. Not progressivism, liberalism. Not at all. They can coexist, and sometimes they're the same thing. But anyways, progressive versus conservative just means conservative, I want things to stay the way they are. Progressive, I want things to change. That's it. That's all they mean. Whether they're good or bad is completely a matter of context. You know, if things are really bad in your country right now, like you are involved in slavery or you've just conquered half of Europe and stuff like that, keeping it that way is not a good thing. That's not the way you want to progress, you know. Or if you want to progress towards those things, then obviously in that case, progressivism is bad because you're progressing from a good place to a bad place. And, you know, conserving the good thing would have been the way to go. And, you know, if you were in a bad place and you fix things up and they're good now, then you're going to have to change from progressive to conservative in order to maintain it. These things happen. So it's very, very contextual. No one is any one of these things. They're all four put together, and it's just about what that they disagree. All right. Sorry about all that. That was quite the rant. So anyways, I'm thinking you might want, you know, light, even coming out of the bottom, but also inside occasionally. So we'll do that for now. I wish there were more options in terms of lighting than just these. But how does this look? The inner wall here continues as such, but I'm thinking, as I'd said before, that probably the outside should be nice instead. So let's try an outer wall here. I don't know. That's a little bit too rough. I mean, I'd expect there to be scratches and stuff on the outside of the ship, but that's awfully rough. I wish it was a bit less. Maybe at scale, that's not a bad texture. And like I said, there is enough of it around. I think maybe introducing brick texture to it. It's just too bad I couldn't do this texture right here with all the textures. That would be the best, because that's very organized. It doesn't look like brick exactly, but it introduces texture. But then here, this is an inside wall except for this part. Maybe I can just fill that in right there later. The inside would probably be well, it wouldn't be as scratched because it's not being exposed to outside debris. Now that's actually a real problem for ships, actually. And one of the things, like, you have deflector shields on any of the Star Trek ships, and they're not about weapons fire. They're about deflecting debris, deflecting dust. Because once you start approaching relativistic, faster, even getting close to the speed of light, much less faster than, the amount of energy released when even a grain of dust hits something at those speeds is enough to destroy any ship. I mean, a grain of dust could tear the Enterprise to shreds, and so they have to protect themselves. And there are a couple of different ways that could happen, but we haven't established either one for this particular series, so... or, I don't think it was ever described in Starflight. So we'll just assume for now that the outside has wear and tear issues. I just wish it wasn't quite so grainy. I do like that it's lateral, because the ship travels laterally, but the back end, the sides that face away from traffic, you'd think would be much cleaner than the sides facing forward. Maybe I can find a texture that's very similar to this, but less scratchy. Dacite. Do I have a dacite? Shale. Let's put a shale next to this. At least in the dark, that is not a dissimilar color. Shale. Gray whack is going to be too hard to come by, and that's also a different color, so that's not going to work. Basalt's too dark. Gneiss I have right now. Stone. Stone might... yeah, that may also work. I wanted dacite, but I'm not carrying... For once, I'm not carrying any dacite on me. That's crazy. Oh, well, sorry for the lack of progress. I mean, it was something. But, I got that spiel out, so now I never have to give that spiel out again. Give me a... Really? There we go. That's what I want. and man, there is some trick. I right over there is a ladder for getting up and down, but there should probably be more of those closer. Let's see. Sun is coming up. There we go. Which one? That's stone, so it's slightly darker. You know what? That doesn't quite fit. That one definitely doesn't fit because it's sort of greenish. Let's get rid of that. Ooh, nice. Okay, so those... The thing I like about these is both colors work against this. Because you have lighter streaks with dark... Well, you know, lighter thing with dark streaks, and you have a dark with light streaks. So going forward to back, we might actually be able to play with all these textures and have a much more interesting ship than I thought. So what are we talking about? We're talking about dacite, we're talking about stone, and we're talking about gneiss. All of which are available. Ooh, no. Dacite is a trip for me. I don't know of a local source of dacite, so I'm going to have to be careful about that. However, dacite's also the cleanest looking one, so that would probably be in the shadows, of the ship. Moving forward, the shadows are going to be little armpits like this and the back side of this. And the darker one, where the more things happen, are going to be towards the front, and the streaks will probably be along the edges. That might work out. So, yeah, sorry again. That was quite a rant. And then that other section there, just talking out loud about how things would go. I mean, it's good material to cover, but it did kind of use up my time strangely. So thanks for enduring it, and I hope you'll come again next time. You won't run away screaming, as previously mentioned. All right, have a good one.